Helldivers 2 has pushed out their first balancing patch, and the nerfs are certainly causing some disagreement in the community. And we just did a show this week about how to disrupt the meta, and the main culprits of power, the personal shield, the railgun, and the breaker shotgun, all got hit with nerfs. Now, some see this as necessary. Others feel like it has sort of ruined the fun, ruined their build, especially when you're playing at the higher difficulties like the Helldiver difficulty. Well, the devs took the time to not just outline the changes, but also to provide the reasons for these changes. And given what we know is likely coming next week, they may have pulled a 900 IQ play. All might be forgotten in just a matter of weeks. That's kind of how it goes with these things. And more than that, footage of the flamethrower versus chargers is making the rounds. I tried it out last night, so there could be new metas and new options already emerging. Now, I put all of the good information right here at the beginning of the video. It's sort of an opening monologue, and if you like this kind of content, make sure you hit subscribe and the bell button. That way you don't miss out on these live shows, and don't forget to hit like. It helps out the video. Yes, the dreaded word nerf is here, and in Helldivers 2, it has come to some of your most treasured weapons. But fear not, Helldivers, some items were buffed, and the mechs will be here soon to help dole out democracy. We've already sort of seen the next war bond. They announced it. It's going to be hitting on March 14th. And it looks like we're going to have to liberate the mechs. The production lines have been shut down. Even still, some people in the community are not happy about these changes, while others have argued that this is necessary, and other underused items should be showing up in high difficulty content instead of 4 people sort of blitzing the Helldivers level of difficulty and everybody has the same build. So first, we're going to look at what was nerfed and buffed, as well as their reasoning, because I think that should give us some insight into what they're going to be doing in the future with other adjustments, because a game like this is always going to be a bit of a moving target, and if you can embrace shaking things up, trying out new equipment, strategies, well, the game should always feel fresh. If you don't like having to change, to adapt, or to try new builds, then get off the train now, because this is going to be a common occurrence in a game like Helldivers 2. Now, second, I want to look at the reactions to this. The community is a bit split on the nerfs, as they typically are. Just my show the other day, I brought up concerns, and then people were sort of bemoaning that we were calling for nerfs and we were going to ruin the fun. Well, I believe the depth of this game far exceeds just one build that you may have fallen in love with. There are lots of guns, there are lots of stratagems, and there's new ones on the way as well. Lastly, I'm going to tell you my thoughts on this. This is not my first rodeo at predicting nerfs, so please don't shoot the messenger, right? I've been here before with the Ikelos shotgun in Destiny. Those who remember that know what I'm talking about. So first, what happened? Well, rather than give you like the hard numbers and the crunching that people are doing, I'm going to give you a quick flyover so we kind of have context for the discussion. And I tested some of this out last night, and I've got some feedback. So first, the breaker shotgun had its mag capacity decreased, and then they increased the recoil. Now, I would imagine this is meant to sort of curb down the range efficiency when you shoot this as fast as you can, like if you're just like holding the button down. And the smaller magazine is going to force a slightly more regular reload rhythm. Now, I would say this is a pretty soft nerf given how strong the breaker is, and I used it last night. It still felt like a great weapon. Now, I'm not going into Helldivers difficulty, so maybe it doesn't feel so good there, but the breaker still feels like the #1 shot or spot for your gun choice. Now, the railgun had its armor penetration decreased, and damage against durable enemy parts was also decreased. Now, I've been told that it is running at the same power if you run it in unsafe mode, so you just have to be more aware, and the railgun should still be doing good work for you. I used it last night. It still felt great. Again, I wasn't at the highest levels of difficulty, but it was working, similarly to how it had worked for me in the past. Now, the flamethrower started showing up in clips, so I tested it out, and the flamethrower got a damage increase for its damage per second by 50%. Now, I've seen clips of it taking out a charger in like 6 seconds, so I kind of counted the seconds that the person had the flamethrower on the charger, and I tried it last night. And there was 1 or 2 times where it was great. I was like, okay, this isn't so bad, because you can kind of get into a bit of a ring around the rosy with a charger and keep that damage on them. Now, it could be seeing a bump against the charger because each individual part of the charger could be getting dot damage, which is damage over time, and that extra 50% could be helping in sort of stacking. We saw something like this in a raid boss in Destiny 1 where each of his individual legs counted as a damage spot, so if you could get cluster bombs to kind of fall on his legs, you got a ton of damage. Well, similarly, if you can get enough dot damage on all the parts of the charger, it might help, and maybe that's why there were a couple times I used it on him and I was shooting him more straight on instead of like circling him, and it took a lot longer to kill him. So if you're going to use a flamethrower on the charger, you might want to try to kind of circle him and touch every part of him with the fire. That seemed to help. Now, the laser cannon had its damage against durable parts increased, along with increased armor penetration and improved ergonomics. I don't know what the ergonomics line's referring to. Maybe it's just like easier to handle. This thing still sucks. I'll just say that. I don't know what you're supposed to use it on, because if they increased its damage against durable parts and armor penetration, I used it on a charger last night and it did basically nothing. Maybe I'm using it on the wrong enemies. Using it on regular enemies doesn't make much sense. Why would I use a stratagem and call it down and get it out, and you gotta like charge it up and it creates this beam? We had a charger who was kind of glitched out and stuck on a spot, so I just sat there and perfectly put the laser cannon on his front left leg, and it just didn't do anything. I was like, I don't know what the problem here is. Again, I think there are certain items in this game that are complete garbage and not worth using, and hopefully they can start to target some of these things and give them significant help. Everything else sounds like an attempt to pull something up to be on par with the railgun, but they have not done so with the laser cannon, in my opinion. At least it's a step in the right direction. Now, the Punisher is sort of the other shotgun next to the Breaker when you go to change your loadout, and the Punisher had its ammo capacity increased along with its stagger force, and damage per bullet was also increased. So I tried the Punisher out last night, and you can really feel the stagger. I mean, you can stop pretty much anybody dead in their tracks unless it's a charger. So you can have a pretty big enemy coming up to you and you just land one shot on them and they stop. Some of them even kind of like push back. I will say that the fire rate on the Punisher and the damage wasn't good enough to warrant like, oh, I can stagger enemies now. Like, it wasn't helping with crowd control. It'd be one thing if I could sort of shoot quickly and hit like a couple of enemies and just go back and forth and keep them all staggered. But because its fire rate is so slow, and then you're like per bullet reloading it, it just doesn't feel like a good weapon. Now, the Breaker Spray and Pray, which is actually a different version of the Breaker than the standard version, it saw some changes as well. Its armor penetration was increased, along with its fire rate, and the number of pellets was also increased, but its mag size was decreased. Now, it sounds like this is going to be like a close-range armor buster, but it'll require some testing since they did increase its armor penetration. Now, the Energy Shield backpack did see a change, and many predicted this was one that needed to happen. The delay before recharging has been increased. I saw numerous people say it just recharges so fast, like it needs to kind of have that adjusted. And all of the people using the hug emoji, if you didn't realize that, you can sort of help your teammates survive. You can hug and stay in their shield and like call down stratagems on yourselves. Well, they might reconsider doing that now, because if you leaves you vulnerable for too long. Now, both the 380 and the 120 orbital barrages had their duration increased and the spread decreased. They're still kind of all over the place. I used one last night and it hit where I threw it, and then one hit like right next to me. So the spread still, I think, kind of sucks for some of these things. It's so random and then so close to you. I mean, I threw it all the way over to this location. Makes it hard to use something like that if you can't really predict where it's going to hit, and then it's a danger to you and it's not all that effective against the enemy. I still think they need to tighten some of those up. Now, some of the other things they had to say was, well, let's talk about why we're doing this. And one of the first things they said was with respect to primary weapons. Now, many have expressed frustration with primary weapons not being strong enough to deal with, all enemies via raw DPS. And so they kind of are addressing that, and they say the following. They say, this is very much intentional. You need to rely on your stratagems and the stratagems of your team to deal with all the enemies effectively, either by Eagle airstrike, orbitals, support weapons, or turrets. Some of your loadout or team should be tailoring their loadout to killing the weaker stuff more efficiently. Now, I think this is a perfectly fair response, but it doesn't really get at the heart of a major issue in the game. Some primary weapons feel like absolute garbage compared to something like the Breaker shotgun. Even the soft changes to the Breaker, I was still using it and it felt way better than virtually any of the other guns that I've tried. They just take too long. And to have people in your team set up to kill the more basic enemies, that doesn't feel like a good design choice. I actually disagree with that design choice. There are so many enemies, and they're coming out of all these different locations. If I'm supposed to be relying on like 1 or 2 people to be taking care of like the meat and potatoes enemies or bugs, that doesn't feel good either. Like I'm just supposed to stand there and not really participate, or I'm supposed to use a crappy primary and then rely on them. No, I'm just going to use the Breaker shotgun. So I think they really need to consider just how much of the game you spend using your primary. To act like we shouldn't be doing that doesn't make much sense. There's ammo everywhere, and you can call down resupplies fairly regularly. So I don't agree that we should be relying on stratagems for basic enemies. Like, that's not really how the game is set up. There's a hierarchy of enemy, and we have a hierarchy of power. And typically when that happens, the weapons and the power line up with the enemies. So your more basic guys that are going to swarm you and pop out of the bug holes, you know, the little guys and the medium-sized guys, your primary should be perfectly fine to handle that. You're moving, you're navigating, you're making space, you're using your grenades. And then when the bigger guys come out, you've got your stratagems, you've got your support weapons. I think that's a perfectly fine way to set it up and not feeling like you need to rely on teammates or stratagems to handle the most basic enemies. Now, they said this. They said, this doesn't mean that your primary shouldn't feel good to use, but please understand that it is primary only in the sense that it is something that you always spawn with. So, again, I get what they're saying, okay? But a huge portion of what you do in the game, as you're even seeing right here in the footage, that's just little small, like little sporadic fights that you're going to get into. And you need your primary to be effective. Like, it can't be trash for those little encounters because there's tons of them. And you just kind of want to be able to manage those to push through to the more medium to larger engagements. And that's where your stratagems and support weapons and your teammates come into play. Now, I'm not advocating for one-man army. I should be able to roam the map by myself. But even at the lower difficulties, you shouldn't have your primary feeling like it's bad because they want you to rely on other things. You need to create gameplay that invites that. You don't want to sort of hobble the player by saying, well, we made all the primary weapons not so great, so you stopped relying on them so much. It's like, well, no, don't do that. Create gameplay that demands me to use other things, and I think the medium to higher level difficulties already do that. So I hope they don't take this attitude with primaries of like, well, nothing should be as effective as the Breaker shotgun, because I just think there's far too many little fights and little enemies to not have good primary weapons. So, the blog specifically addressed the mentality of just buff. Like, don't do nerfs. And I sometimes say this, but I'm not saying just buff for forever. Sometimes it does make more sense to raise the underperforming weapons rather than to nerf the one that everybody likes. But they say that it's not that simple, and I will happily help them here because I do think they are right. If you just buff everything, it can break the power fantasy because it makes us too strong, and then that requires enemy adjustments, which leads to power creep. If you make us too strong, then the enemy needs to be stronger, and that can continue for forever, sort of like this pendulum or this seesaw, just back and forth all the time. And they said the following after addressing that. They said, it's extra important for us to tread carefully so that we don't ruin fantasy and fun when we do nerfs. We hope you, our players, will tell us when we cross that line inadvertently. So there you have it. And the Game Master and the stats should help them with this. People are clamoring to Reddit to say, you have ruined the higher level content. It's too hard. Look at these pictures. Look at these encounters. What are we supposed to do here without all this power that we previously had? Now, if game behavior clusters and or fail rates increase too much, I'm sure they can make adjustments. Now, when they explained the Breaker nerfs, they said the following. They said it was not necessarily better at making you succeed in a mission, and no real damage nerfs were warranted. The calculated total damage per magazine was quite high compared to other weapons, however, and something that could be reined in while reinforcing the intended fantasy. Now, I don't necessarily think that we would need to look at a primary weapon's ability to make us better at succeeding in a mission. If a weapon is shredding the meat and potatoes enemies, while others are just taking longer, players will understandably flock to the weapon that is shredding. I made the decision to main the breaker shotgun, and I didn't watch a single video. I didn't ask for any input. I didn't say, hey, what's the best weapon? I used it one time, and I said, this thing is way better than anything else I've used. Nobody needs a number cruncher on Reddit or a YouTube video to figure out which gun is shredding versus one that sort of feels like a pea shooter. Now, I'm not going to read all the justifications for all their changes, but I did want to highlight another lightning rod change, the railgun. They said the following: it was vastly overperforming in how safe it was to use and how convenient it was, not requiring a backpack or assistance to be effective and not requiring risk to take out even larger armored targets. Now, we had community members touch on this very thing during the discussion about the meta the other day. They said it doesn't require a backpack, and it's stronger than weapons that do. It's more effective. Now, I would expect more changes, maybe even requiring a backpack. Now, why do I expect more changes? Because they said the following. They said, we are aware it rose to prominence as part of other anti-tank weapons not being as convenient or efficient in comparison. We are monitoring the situation closely and will adjust more based on how this change plays out. So I'm here to tell you, I actually think they're going to nerf it again, or they're going to make a change. I think probably the easiest thing would be to make you wear a backpack, okay? Because everybody was just running personal shield, breaker, railgun, and you could pretty much handle a lot of the more challenging encounters. So, given the fact that folks are saying it's still just as good, just run it in unsafe mode. If you don't know how to do that, hold down your reload button, and lots of weapons have options, different scopes, different fire rates, and the railgun can be run in unsafe mode, which means if you charge it for too long, you'll blow yourself up. So you got to be a little bit more aware. Now, they also fixed the armor values not working, so it's great to actually try some of the other heavier armor. I ran I think a medium set of armor yesterday, and it said that it would prevent me from dying from lethal blows or something like that. I forget the exact wording of the perk. And it felt pretty good. I obviously didn't feel as fast, and I felt like my stamina ran out a little bit more, but I did feel like when I was getting smacked around in low health, there were a couple of times where I held on, and I'm pretty sure it was because of my armor. So, what has the reaction been to this thus far? Now, I didn't have a chance to go to Reddit and gather all the information, but, my producer sent me a PC Gamer article this morning, and people are not happy. I perused a couple of the top threads that they featured in the article, and there were pictures of, all these titans and pictures of these really hard environments, and people are like, how do you expect us to handle this? All I can say is some of the discussion yesterday about this and the other day about this that I saw in both when we were planning this show and just in our Discord. Basically, people are saying, listen, there are tons of other options that nobody is using. Everybody loading into really challenging content with the exact same loadout, that's not how a game like this should run. And I tend to agree with them. Now, I don't agree that, as I said earlier, I shouldn't be relying on my teammates like, oh, hey, you built yourself for the basic enemies, so I'm going to have to kind of run or hide or whatever from these basic enemies. No, I think primary weapons should be able to handle that. But when you do get into the harder content, I do think you're going to have people running support, running DPS, things of that nature, especially if they want to get into what I think they could do in this game, which is almost like raid content. So one of the reactions that I saw was, I've seen this multiple times. It came up in our writer's room segment that we do for members where we kind of plan these shows. And they said, well, why would you nerf in a PvE-only game? This is a valid question, but it comes from a place where games typically wreck your build and ruin your stuff because something's too strong in PvP, okay? Which is why I'm thrilled they have no plans to ever put PvP in this game. If you want PvP in a game like this, go play a PvP game, okay? Games that are strictly PvP tend to be better anyway because they can balance everything around that instead of, we need to be able to kill bugs and monsters. We don't have to worry about, killing individual, soldiers. But even PvE-only games need balance. Let's imagine a world where they change nothing, and folks could continue with their great meta builds. Don't you think that would speed up the process of burnout or boredom? Obviously, I'm not advocating for nerfs for the sake of nerfs, just like, we'll keep things fresh, break our builds. But when some builds are so blatantly obvious the best, it narrows choice and it narrows the game experience, and that works against the game's health long term. Your frustration right now is part of the ongoing equation. Comfort or complacency leads to familiarity, and boredom, which works against ongoing engagement. So the game being PvE only is not an excuse to ignore obvious heat maps in the weapon pool and in the equipment. Another piece of feedback I have seen is, well, they didn't do enough buffs. And I actually get where people are coming from, and I agree. I don't think they buffed enough. Even some of the things they buffed, like the laser cannon, it's trash. Like, it's not worth using. Just use a railgun, all right? I'm okay with that, though, because I think they're probably trying to find a baseline. They probably didn't want to overreact and just, like, buff everything. A lot of primary weapons that feel like junk didn't even get touched. It's probably the best move, though, to make adjustments to the obvious outliers, kind of rein those in, and then you can make incremental buffs to other items later. If they get too reactionary, the pendulum of, well, we nerf this, we buff this, we over-buff this, we over-nerf this, it can start to swing very wildly, and then nobody knows which way is up. Every time you come back to the game, you're like, I don't know what the heck's going on. I don't know what's strong, what's weak. I don't know what's meta and what's not. You don't want that pendulum to start swinging this early. Now, some people reacted to this and just flat out said this was needed. Seeing so much equipment and stratagems just completely ignored in the higher level content is something that cannot just be looked over. The devs spent a lot of time designing weapons and stratagems, and to just see them sort of lying dormant, that's not ideal. Not that the devs should artificially force us to make changes to our builds, but all games have metas that emerge, and left unchecked, it becomes this narrow, default, assumed way to play, and that works against variety in the game's design. But some disagree. I saw one piece of feedback and they said, well, this is going to hurt casual players as well as the high-level players. And essentially the argument was that casuals who find what they like, they may not want to change things up. They're happy to boot up every night and just continue to use the same build. And high-level players can no longer capitalize on what they know is familiar. Look, I get it. Nobody likes to have their build fiddled with. But comfort in a game like this is not going to help it last. Coaxing folks to use other weapons and builds helps the game long term. And this is where I do agree that modifiers, daily challenges, and incentives can be utilized to make folks change up their loadout. I don't think nerfs and buffs are the best way to achieve that. Like, we shouldn't be doing this every month. They should eventually get within a certain range of, like, everything's functioning kind of as it's intended. But given how strong some of this stuff was, adjustments were clearly needed. And given how weak certain weapons and stratagems are, I think more adjustments are likely on the way. And I think that's part of the fun of a game like this, suddenly discovering a weapon or a stratagem you've ignored for months and seeing it do work. That's a fun injection, and it can kind of make the game feel new. So what are my thoughts on this? Very quickly here. First, I'm not going to say I told you so, but I tried to warn you, okay? These types of nerfs are unavoidable. Again, to imagine a world where they do nothing to this game and just let you continue to use your really strong gear that's allowing people to beat the hardest content even when they're under-leveled, I just think that's a fantasy to think they weren't going to address any of this. And buffing everything, well, that can just lead to power creep. That's not the answer either. I will say that raising up the underperforming weapons and the underperforming stratagems, that is needed, all right? They aren't off the hook on that stuff, just because there are some things that lack basic combat efficacy and no one's going to use them for very long. Also, something to consider, mechs and vehicles are on the way, and this could be making some headroom for a sudden jump in player power. Like, if we're all running around with mechs in a couple of weeks, maybe that's why they did this. They're trying to make some headroom in the power fantasy. That could honestly be a 900 IQ play. You hit the biggest performers, you make folks feel some pain and some frustration, and then you drop mechs in the game a week later, a week or two later. That's a psychological level play right there, right? To help keep the game going. I've said this a lot lately. The question of getting people to keep playing and keep coming back to your game is not a technical question. It is a psychological question, and it certainly is possible they've got a head start on that strategy. We also have to remember that new enemies, new stratagems, and modifiers could always completely shake up the meta in the future. But I will stress one more time at the end here, a lot of the primary weapons need some help. I don't need the primary weapon to make me feel like a one-man army, but it still needs to be worth using. But that's just what I think. What do you think? So let me give you my closing thoughts and conclusion here. Taking steps to balance a game is always going to cause frustration. Reddit has these posts already. You know, players are like, how are we supposed to face these encounters with this weakened gear? I am not an expert at those levels of difficulty, but I do wonder if people found something that was so brain dead powerful, they've not experimented with any of the other equipment. Is there equipment that can handle crowd control that we haven't tried? Is there something that can help slow things down or freeze things? Like, are there strategies that have not emerged because the player's not been pushed to try anything differently? There have been plenty of times in the history of games like this where once you sort of settle in on a meta and it just becomes so mindless and strong that when they take it away, you feel like all is lost. Like, oh, we're not going to be able to do this anymore. Now, I'll admit, tried the Punisher shotgun last night. It feels pretty bad. The laser cannon, as I said, still a piece of trash. And I'm at level 4. I'm not even going into the really hard content. And as soon as I switched off of the breaker, okay, I just felt like I wasn't good enough to just fight basic enemies. I was having to run a lot more. You know, it messed up the flow of combat significantly. So I just went back to my breaker shotgun and my railgun. And that's not something that I support. Like, I would have loved to have tried out the Punisher or tried out that laser cannon and been like, yo, this stuff's really effective, man. I can run a completely different loadout now. I would have loved that. I did not like having to kind of go back to what I'd already been using. So I think they need more adjustments there. Now, hopefully the new War Bond next week can introduce some of the new guns and other things. Now, we're going to take a look at that here in a moment with the live stream. They did announce a brand new War Bond, and we're going to take a look at it. The second thing I want to say is a game like Helldivers 2 is always going to feel like a moving target. They cannot let us settle in. And they can use new enemies, and they can use new content, new weapons, and stratagems in order to do that, but they can also use buffs and nerfs. I would call their current moves an attempt to find a baseline, right? Like we got to rein in the outliers and find a baseline. Once the strongest stuff isn't too strong, you can bring other weapons and stratagems kind of up to that baseline depending on what they're supposed to do, whether it's a support or a damage stratagem or item. That's, I think, what's going on here. They're looking for that baseline. That keeps the game from seesawing into power creep. We get too strong, now the enemies need to be stronger, and so forth. My conclusion is this. Helldivers 2 is in a unique position to nerf and buff and change the game without it being this reactionary thing that feels like a hall monitor. You know, trying to tell you like, hey, stop having fun. I don't think they need to do that, even though some people feel like that's what's happened here. My word to you is give it time. I would much prefer a developer that's keeping an eye on things and making adjustments than one that's just really hands-off or just lets things go crazy for too long. And with the new War Bond, it looks like we're going to be liberating the mechs, and, you know, we've got more power on the horizon. Now, that may not be a comfort as you're struggling through Helldivers difficulty, but it is helpful to remember this game's never going to settle on a meta or a power structure. In the meantime, there's no harm in lowering the difficulty and experiment with all the different builds and the different items that are out there. It's kind of fun to do that. But those are just my thoughts. Now it's time to hear your thoughts. And that's the show open. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here. Make sure and smash that like button. We will be playing some Helldivers today. I will pull up the blog post about the new War Bond that they announced just this morning. And we appreciate you guys so much for being here and supporting what we do. And really exciting that we already have a new War Bond on the way. And we'll take a look at that PlayStation blog in just a brief moment. Let me pop out the chat as well. And make sure you guys are going through that ritual of smashing that like button. We appreciate the support lately. A lot of you guys have been watching, and a couple people said yesterday, they're like, oh, I've been lurking too much. I forgot to push the like button. So make sure that you don't do that. You settle into that podcast lurk mode, and those likes really do help. Let me check the fan funding. And Heavy Metal Mama, thank you so much for renewing your membership. You are the best. And we do have a bit of an incentive running. If you guys get us back up to the 3,000 members, we'll do a big Helldivers stream on Friday night with the public and Madam. I'll have my wife here. And we'll then go to a member stream. So we can do that. We're not going to do the public stream, though. If we don't hit the goal, I'll just hang out with members instead. So I don't want the current members to feel like they missed out or got punished. We'll do the big public celebration if we hit the goal. If we don't hit the goal, we'll still hang out with members. We'll still play some Helldivers on Friday night. Joker Quinn, Han shot first, and so did you, busting through and getting us the first gifted member of the day. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that. Good to see you, Thrifty. Thrifty's the one who snags it. Let's go for democracy. Let's go for democracy. All right, let me do something really, really quickly here, though. I wanted to draw your attention. I've been wearing new shirts again from Into the AM, and you can use my code on top of any of the discounts or sales that they're doing. So code Lono or intotheam.com/Lono will help you, basically stack on top of whatever they're doing. Sometimes they're doing clearance, sometimes they're trying to get rid of. That's the one I'm wearing today. That's actually on the back of my t-shirt. I'll show that to you in just a second, and I'll be wearing that one probably tomorrow or next week. Really, really exciting. There's another one that I wore this week right there. That was one of my favorites. Oh, tigers. I absolutely love tigers. They're like my favorite animal. So be sure to use the link below. We love working with Into the AM, and I wore that one yesterday as well. I dubbed that one the Returnal shirt. Do you see the white shadow? And let me show you quickly the back of this shirt. So awesome shirts over there at Into the AM. So make sure and use the link below or use my code. Appreciate working with them so much. We like their stuff, and I've got so many shirts now from them. And Creature comes in with 34 months, says 3,500 members for democracy. Oh yeah, if you guys hit 3,500 members, then Creature will come on the Friday night and play as well. But we're gonna just probably have to set our sights on 3,000. 3,500 is probably out of reach. Probably out of reach. So let me pull up the blog, and that way you guys can get a look at. This is the brand new stuff that they announced just today. So Helldivers 2 New War Bond launches on March 14th. First look at new weapons, armor, and more. So PlayStation put this out, and there's a trailer. And everything. So you can see here, this is a very familiar format for live service. If you guys have ever, followed or played Destiny, this setup here, looks very familiar. I'll let you guys sort of see this little quick video here. It's 54 seconds. And thank you, Lord Horg, for 10 months as a member. Hey, I was opposed to the patch and the nerf, but I actually love the change. I now run Punisher and Flamethrower. Yeah, the Punisher feels good with stagger, but it just doesn't shoot fast enough. Like, I didn't feel like combat had a good flow to it anymore. It was just a little too slow. I think if they increased the fire rate just a teeny bit, it would feel so much better. Because the reload is rough. The reload is rough. At 3501, Pugs will join to play. Yo, what's good, Pugs? Good to see you. So this is the trailer that they had. You saw some of the new weapons in there, some of the new footage or whatever. We can scroll down and you can kind of get a look at what's going on. Now, they did send out a tweet and they said that production of the mechs has been halted. So I believe that we are going to have to liberate the mechs, and that's how the mechs will show up in the future content. So they're not just going to suddenly drop the mechs in the game. We're going to have to win some sort of order, and then once we win that, we'll be able to use them. So, they've got experimental armor ready to be field tested. So that's kind of the theme of what we're doing here. So the EX series prototypes is what they're calling them. And in this one here, the prototype 3, a rubber underlayer for insulation. Handy, really, as this prototype wires operate at a shocking 400,000 volts. So that doesn't really tell us anything about it, but we'll see. If these things are going to probably be helping us with electricity, I'm assuming. This one here, prototype 16. Electric arc generates a strong magnetic field. Avoid use while near stapled paperwork. So they're being a little silly here. They're not really giving us the details, so I'm assuming these are going to be doing, different things with the electric theme. The end result of several billion super credits and 12 years of research into creating the Soldier of Tomorrow shows it's worth it. So this is another one. So the 3 different armor sets, and you can actually, if we refresh the blog here, you can kind of see the 3 right there. Okay? And then we've got some expanded arsenal. So we have a sickle, an LAS-16 sickle, a sweet laser rifle that fires in short bursts, and it doesn't need reloading. Just watch for overheating or shove a new heatsink in there. So this was the one you kind of saw. It was like doing like a short-range blast. We'll see if this is any good. Currently, there's I believe it's called the sickle, is it not? There's one in the game right now that's just like a beam, and it's stinking terrible. Punisher Plasma. So this is going to be a modified Punisher, it looks like. Exploding plasma rounds sound deadly because they are to aliens and allies. The modified Punisher shotgun is as fun as it is fearsome. And then a Blitzer. Project an arc of close-range lightning or charge it up and fire off powerful bolts. Good for taking out multiple targets and giving you more time to pick a celebration emote. So, I'm sorry, it's not the sickle, it's the scythe. Thank you. I know there's something with a name similar to that. Yeah, the scythe's terrible. At least I think it's terrible. And you can unlock a new stun grenade, the G23 stun, and the dagger pistol. There you go. Look at that dagger. So that's a similar beam that we've seen from the guard dog as well as the scythe. So, I currently feel like the scythe's pretty weak, so I'm not sure if this'll be worth using. You can equip the dagger and the sickle at the same time, turning your Helldiver into a real live wire, melting the foes of managed democracy in sight. So I'm just going to assume, there's new capes as well. They showed us that. Let me show you their tweet. They tweeted an image about the mechs. Let's see. Where did it go? There it is. All right. Pull it up here for you. All right. So this is what it says. It says, Helldivers deployed to liberate. So production has been halted. Factories are rolling out. So they were, I'm assuming this is just part of the story that they're telling us, right? They were going to deploy the mechs, and now they've been shut down. I'd be interested to see. It says liberate Tien Quan. Is that on the automaton side, or is that on the bug side? Yo, Skatinator with the 5 bomb. He says, come on, boys. Let's get up for that goal that we're trying to hit. Thank you so much. Takes us to 6 members on the day. Appreciate you so much. And we did complete the major orders. I had the game pulled up when I was working on everything today, and I watched the countdown. It would have been pretty cool if something like actually happened in the game. Like nothing happened. It just like disappeared. It is the bots? Okay. I thought that was going to be the case, that we've got all this electric stuff, and then we're going to have to go to the automaton side and liberate. We're going to have to liberate the Patriot exosuit. So, Noble Steak becomes a member. That counts. You don't have to gift members or receive a gift member. You can just become a member. Click join. Click that $6 member tier. It gets you into our content. This one has too many sleeves for Doc. That's pretty good. So welcome in, Noble Steak. I appreciate that. What's the topic for tomorrow? I do not pick topics that far in advance, my friend. We end every day with a segment called The Writer's Room, and that's typically where we plan the next day's show, so I have not planned tomorrow's show yet. This game feels like 4 mice that get dropped into a cage with a snake. You're going to get murked. Right. Well, what kind of experimenting did you guys do with the Nerfs? Because, I don't want to read too much into their statements about primary weapons. But the way they spoke about the primary weapons, it's like, I shouldn't need to be relying on my teammates for like basic enemies. Like, am I off in left field on that? Like, there are very basic enemies. There's little guys that crawl on the ground, you know, there's medium-sized guys. And like, I'll give you an example. My secondary is like that Uzi, and it's strong, man. I can kind of blast through. I can blast through a lot of those more, I call them meat and potatoes enemies. And it's like all of the primaries and secondaries should feel good at doing that. Like, none of them should feel bad. You know, those are basic enemies. Like, I shouldn't be like, hey, buddy, can you come up here? Like, guys, oh, I can't fight these guys. Like, I get maybe having people that are equipped for, you know, this guy's got everything set up for the Bile Titan, and this guy's set up to support us, and this guy's set up for chargers, and you're at the higher level difficulty, and you're really working together, and you're trying to synergize and time things. I think that's totally fine. But all the primary weapons should feel good. They should be good at the basic combat. You know, I'm not going to run around and call down a stratagem every time there's a little batch of enemies, you know? There's too many of them. You need to be able to fight them with your primary weapon to a certain degree. Excuse me. I'm happy playing solo on level 4 and 5. I don't need weapon nerfs in PvE when so many weapons are absolute trash panda. Yeah, but playing the game solo, I mean, it's not, this game was never really designed to be played that way. Eugene says the game is supposed to feel that way. We are cannon fodder. We're not elite soldiers. Right, I think that's an element of the discussion that's getting lost. Like, you're not Master Chief or a Guardian in Destiny. You're just a meathead, right? They're just dropping you in, and you're just screaming and blowing stuff up. Like, there's not much more thought that goes into it than that. You're not supposed to be some ruthless, you know, killing machine. You're a bit of a meathead, you know, and I think that's fine. People are sleeping on the arc thrower. I tried the arc thrower a few times. It just didn't feel like it was that great. See, that's what I'm saying. It's one of those things where I tried the breaker one time, and I was like, this thing's fantastic. Now, yes, people told me to try the railgun, but I had tried the laser cannon. I had tried rockets, you know, and I was like, all right, let me try this railgun. And you instantly can tell, like, oh, yeah, this thing's great. You know, I didn't need somebody to crunch the numbers for me. They just said, oh, yeah, the railgun's really good for taking out chargers. And I was like, oh, thanks for sharing that information with me, right? And then I went and got one. I found arc throwers out in the wild, and I tried them, and I never felt like they were all that great. It's good at chipping armor. Oh. Have you guys had similar experiences with the flamethrower? Because the flamethrower against a charger, I used it, there were 2 different times. Oh, man, I shredded the charger. I was like, oh, that felt great. And then there was another time where I was like, he's not dead yet. He's not dead yet. He's not dead yet. I was like, what's going on? I was like, it's not working. And I came all the way back down. He killed me. I got reinforced, and he was still going strong. And I was like, maybe some chargers are stronger than others. I don't know. If they're going to keep making it harder until it's overwhelming and then drop mechs or such, I don't necessarily know if their intention is to make us all really weak and then drop mechs. I just think they're creating a little bit of headroom so that they can add the mechs and have them be worth using. You know, if everybody's running personal shield, railgun, breaker, and they're like, yeah, I don't really need a mech, you know, then that's not a good look. The arc thrower is harder to use and takes time to get good, but you can kill all enemies, so they're more versatile than some other weapons. If anyone could take ammo off of you and reload your recoilless or autocannon, it would be great. The Reddit and the Discord of this game is a cesspit of gatekeepers and people telling you how you should play the game. It's toxic and off-putting. Well, just don't go there. That's what those places exist for a lot of people. Like, I'm not going to tell somebody, hey, you know, how dare you use the resources available to you to research and crunch numbers and and basically promote what you think's the best way of playing. Like, if that's what they think, great. But, you know, I think your summary of the Reddit is probably incredibly reductionist and not accurate. I highly doubt the entire Reddit is just a bunch of jerks gatekeeping. There's always going to be people that say, this is the best way to play. If you're not playing like this, you know, we were playing last night, and I was playing with 2 guys from the Discord, and I was playing with Madam. And somebody threw down mines. And I was like, who did that? Where are we supposed to go now? Like, Madam and I were stuck. It's like, we can't walk through here. You put mines in front of us, right? So there are certainly ways of playing that, you know, can be a little bit of a nuisance. So I get people wanting to protect their experience and saying, like, listen, I want to play with people that know what they're doing, you know? If somebody only has 2 hours to play, they don't want to waste time with somebody who's running some stupid busted build just because they want to experiment. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, folks have a right to protect their play sessions. And if they've determined that they would like their play session to be, you know, as quick and as effective as possible, they have every right to do that. Their play, you're not entitled to their play time, you know? You're not entitled to be like, well, I should be able to play with you. No, they have every right to be like, yeah, no, I'm going to curate my experience. I don't want to play with somebody that's like insisting on running the laser cannon because they like it, you know, and it's terrible and doesn't kill anything. Yeah. Yo, welcome back, Reckless Gambit. There are 3 types of posts on Reddit. The devs are great, the devs are idiots, and then the belly aching about this and that. Was that you, Trill? Yeah, was that you, Trill? I wonder who that was. Yeah, you put freaking mines right in front of us, Trill. And I told Madam, I was like, no. I was like, you can't go near those red lights. I was like, they'll kill you. And we started shooting them, and they did more damage to us than the enemy, you know? That's what mines are for. Perfect dichotomy. One complaining that Reddit is telling others how to play. Another is complaining that Reddit is why people get kicked for not using the meta. I don't see how those are opposed to each other. That's fine, but don't make randoms and then kick people for not having the meta loadout. Make a private lobby and find people on a Discord if you don't have friends to play with. I mean, I totally hear where you're coming from, Noble, and I'm not encouraging people to kick others, right? I'm not. But if somebody wants to play and they don't want to play with you because you're running a busted loadout that they know is going to make it harder on them and they're not going to have as good of a time, you know, they have every right to be like, no, I don't want to play with you. Now, kicking you, sure. I think they should probably set up the game in such a way to minimize kicking. Like, I don't know if you could go into, like, a holding lobby where you could, like, talk first, and then you could be like, nah, dude, can you back out? We're doing Helldivers difficulty, and you're running nothing. You're running a bad build. This game sounds toxic AF. I think that's a ridiculous summary based on such a limited amount of information that you have this morning to basically be like, this game sounds toxic AF. Like, what information do you have other than the fact that people on Reddit saying that you should run meta builds? What year is it? We've been here before. Like, this is just how games like this run. People want to run the best build. They want to know what the best build is. Like, I think people have a right to play the game that way. Like, I don't think the game should be set up in such a way where it's easy to toxically kick people. I'm against that. But I'm also totally in support of people saying, this is how I would like to play the game. This is how I would like to play the game. And if you don't want to play the game in that way, then I don't want to play with you, right? And that's where you need, like, a looking for group in the game, where you could, like, check a box and say, I'm looking to run Helldivers difficulty, and I want people running meta builds. Or you check a box that says something to the effect of, like, we're trying to do this quickly. But then somebody else might be like, I'm just trying to have fun. Well, then you're going to get matched with the people that are like you, and good luck, you know? It's like Nate Bargatze says, you can't have 2 dreamers in a marriage. You're going to be homeless by the afternoon, right? You can't have a bunch of people that are just like, I'm just here to have fun in the higher levels of difficulty. You're not going to get a whole lot of accomplished, you know. I honestly think sometimes that's part of the tension is there are people who want to get carried, right? They don't know what they're doing. They're not running a meta build, and they're salty because they want to get carried by better players. And better players are like, I don't feel like carrying you. Or players with better loadouts, right? Like, I'm not saying they should be able to toxically kick you, but they should be able to curate their evening. You know, they should be able to say, listen, this is the kind of experience that I'm looking for in this game. You know, and these are the types of people I want to play with. I want to play with people running the meta. I want to play with people that are going to try and beat this as quickly and as efficiently as possible. I think they have every right to do that. You know, if you're really busy and you put the kids to bed and you got 2 hours to play, you have every right to say, I don't want to piddle my time away with some dum-dum who doesn't understand how this game works and he's wandered his way into hard content. Like, we've all been there, okay? We've all been there. You're like, how did you get here, bro? Like, how did you wander into this content, right? We've all been there. So I get that people can gatekeep, and I get that people can, you know, insist on meta builds, but, like, they have a right to do that, you know? This guy says, brother in Christ, thank you for making a base and balanced video. No bootlicking, no panic button nonsense, just real talk. I was and still am a flamethrower main, I can tell you. Do you feel like the flamethrower works best against the charger? I feel like if you circle him, it gets like multiple points of damage and it almost like multiplies. The one time I was primarily hitting him in the face and it was lighting his body on fire, but it just didn't seem to be doing much. I again think like his individual legs and armor pieces and back all count, and if you like hit them all, it almost like stacks the damage. That's just a theory that I have. The problem is we had noobs running crutches that allowed them to play higher difficulties, where a higher skilled player could get good results without those crutches. Well, there's definitely some disagreement and some debates there. There are people that say, you guys are now going to have to really strategize and work together. You've been running a busted build. Like 4 people going into high-level content, not using microphones, and all running the same build. That's not really within the way the game's designed. In their vision for this game, and it makes sense because you have support gear, you have offensive gear, right? You've got different types of gear for different purposes. I think in their view, you would drop down with 4 people kind of loaded out for different things, and that's not what anybody was doing. Everybody was just basically, and this happens all the time in games like this, and I don't know how you foster an environment where this doesn't happen, but this happens all the time in games like this. Everybody focuses on DPS. That's all anybody focuses on. DPS, right? Like a bunch of silverback gorillas. You're just like, oh, DPS. You just want to blast everything and club everything to death, okay? And I get it. It's fun. It's super fun to be this brute or to just drop bombs or to blow things up, right? That's part of the appeal of this game is, you know, the cinematics and the impact you have on the map and the fight. But the problem with that is that's an extremely narrow way to play the game. It's like everybody's loading into the hardest content, and it's just like DPS. Personal shield, railgun, breaker. Personal shield, railgun, breaker. You know? And I think that there's a tension here. How do you get people to go into high-level content like that and just sort of take on different roles when it's not like a raid? It's kind of like a raid, but it's not a raid. Like when you go into a raid, you know, we're going to need somebody running support. We're going to need somebody running tank. We're going to need somebody running DPS. Like you're going to need those things. And in this game, I think it's hard for people to see that because, like, what do you mean? We drop and kill bugs. What are you talking about? I don't need to be running support, or I don't need to run, just go DPS. No one wants to be the divinity guy, right? There's an aspect of having to carry your own when you join groups. You're not entitled to anyone's gaming time. Yeah, that too. Over the years, I've always sort of felt like we used to get in these conversations about raids in Destiny, and it's like, you are not entitled to my time just because I'm playing. Like, if I want to play with these types of players, I should be able to curate that experience as best I can, you know? You know, and maybe there's a way for them to do that in the game. You know, maybe there's a way for them to allow people to sort of cluster in the groups that they're looking for. Because if someone wants to run with a bunch of meta heads, I think they have every right to do that. Like, that's what they want. Let them run with people who only want to run the meta. You know. This isn't skill-based matchmaking. The meta is fine, but it's stolen the whole chat around the game. Well, I mean, anytime you have content that scales up in difficulty, people are going to be trying to figure out how to best beat it. And when they discover something that works really, really well, it spreads. Right? It's why I told people, like, the farming methods that people were using for, like, super credits and XP. I was like, this will spread because once people realize how effective something is, that's all they'll do. And it didn't take long for people to realize, oh, that's the best primary, that's the best, that's the best support weapon, that's the best stratagem, for whatever, like the beam, the orbital beam is super helpful for these, these guys here, the chargers. Then don't random matchmake. No, I agree with you, but here's the problem, Jen. If you don't equip the players to curate who they match with, they're going to do it on their own. We dealt with this in, do you guys remember in Outriders? People were getting kicked if they ran, what was his name? What was the class's name? Devastator? Was it the Devastator? Like, you basically would get kicked if you were running the Devastator. Do I have the name right? I think I have the name right. And it was hard. It was really hard because people were like, this is the character I chose. I've spent 20 to 25 hours grinding and leveling up this character, and now no one will play with me. I still laugh about that. It's funny now, but I'm sure at the time it was not funny to be like, dude, I've spent a lot of time on this character and nobody wants to play with me. It happened in Outriders. Like, if you don't equip the players to curate their own experience, they'll do it on their own. They'll be like, yeah, get the frick out of here, bum. You don't know what you're doing. What are you running that for? That's just what people are going to do. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. I'm saying this is what players are going to do. And the best way to protect people from it is equip players sort of curate their own experience. Like, if there's a way for them to fill something out, like, these are the types of players I'm wanting to match with. I want people running the best weapons. I want to beat this as fast as possible, okay? Then, the players that are only looking for fun. Now, here's the thing. Somebody might say, well, couldn't people that are just wanting to play for fun, couldn't they check the wrong box? Yeah, sure. And then that'd be their own fault. That's like, well, that's why you're getting kicked. You selected that you wanted to play with meta players, but you're not playing the meta, so you're going to get kicked. Nobody wants to play with you. You did the wrong thing. Chill players aren't any more special than meta players. If you don't want to run into meta players, create your own group. It works both ways. Right, like, nobody says when you click on matchmaking, you just have to accept whatever you get. Like, would you be okay with that? Like, you sit down, you got a couple of hours to play, you matchmake, and you get paired up with like a 9-year-old who's like not taking it serious and talking to his friends and putting a controller down, and you're like, well, I guess I'm just stuck with this guy because I matchmade. Like, no, you have a right to protect your experience. One of the higher difficulty levels are supposed to weed out casuals. People chilling shouldn't be queuing in high difficulty. You can still one-hit KO a Bile Titan if you time the railgun so it's close to overheating when the Bile Titan opens its mouth. But it has a special death animation. It crumples like a spider with a brain shot. Oh, that's pretty cool, Alex. I didn't know that. Hey, Fuzzy, thanks for using my code, bro. I appreciate that, dude. Oh, you couldn't resist the bourbon glass with the skull in it. That's a good one. I have that one. Then you just leave? Well, I don't think the answer is to scold people or to tell them that they're being toxic or they're gatekeeping, right? Let me try and word it this way, because I don't play this way. I'm just trying to understand that I'm trying to make room for people that do and try to understand why they do it. So just think of it this way. The average person is not booting up Helldivers 2 and saying, I can't wait to go and be a jerk to people and kick them out of my group, right? And a gifted member from Joker Quinn, thank you so much. Taking us to 8 members on the day. We got a standing goal. We can get back up to 3,000 members, guys. We will do a big celebration stream tomorrow night. It'll be a public stream. We will do a public Helldivers stream, and Madam, my wife, will join us, and we'll play some Helldivers with you and the public, and then we'll switch to members after a while. So currently we're like 2,700. We're stuck at the 2,700 mark. So if we don't hit the goal, no worries. We just won't do the public stream on the Friday night. I'll just hang out with the members. So we'll celebrate with everybody. I'm not going to like punish the members if we don't hit the goal. It's not their fault if we don't hit the goal. So if we don't hit the goal, we'll still do the member stream on Friday night. So I don't think anybody is booting up Helldivers and is like, yo, I can't wait to get in there and be a jerk and kick people out. What they're doing is they're seeking their best experience. In their opinion, what they've determined is this is the best experience. I would like to run the high-level content with people who understand the current meta, okay? I'm not saying they're right. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying that's how people are going to play. You know, Dave gets home from work and he's like, dude, I had a rough day. I got a couple of hours. And this is the time that I have to play. And this is what I want to do. I want to play high-level Helldivers content, and I want to play with people running the meta. And you go wandering in there, and you're not running meta, and you think that's gatekeepy, you know, that guy doesn't owe you his time. And the only method he has of finding people to play with, the most effective way for him to find people to play with, is to use matchmaking. Like, what's this guy supposed to do? Not play? Go to Reddit? Go to find a go to do a group fighter? No, he's using the tools in front of him. You know. What did Trill say? Nobody wants a low-level casual running high-level missions on their team. If I'm the person you joined, I can't leave. I have to kick you. Right. Yeah, I mute people because of the mic noise. You just get too much background noise. It's like super annoying. It's just constant, like, you know, if somebody coughs or sneezes or there's somebody talking in the background, it's like, I don't need to hear the noise from your life right now. I'm just trying to play a video game, you know? I don't need to know that you're... Why is everybody's smoke alarm, you know, not have a fresh battery in it? Like, what are y'all doing? Okay? Well, why is that a thing? You know? I've lost count over the years. You know, go to the store and buy a battery. You know, I'm trying to play a video game, not hear a periodic beep like some science experiment, you know? How long is it going to take before this guy, you know, loses it because he's hearing a beep at a regular interval? Replace your dadgum batteries in your smoke alarms. That's why I mute people's mics. I can't take it, dude. Why not some type of level matchmaking, says Kaiser. I have had people join that are 10 levels apart. High levels should know what to do. Well, yeah, I actually think that might help. I think some of this is, you know, people say it's gatekeeping, But I would imagine by the time you're a high-level player, you're not going into high-level content being like, I think I'm going to run the laser cannon. Like, you know what I'm saying? By then, I would imagine you'd have a build that's fairly proficient. You know, now obviously, if you're like, I don't really feel like running the railgun, I'd like to run something else, and they're like, no, you have to run the railgun or GTFO. Well, okay, but again, I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I'm saying if that's what they want to do and that's who they want to play with, they have every right of being like, nah, dude, put the railgun on or get out. You know, we're trying to run this quick. I got limited time. I'm working a double tomorrow, dude. I'm trying to roll over. I'm trying to level up. I'm not trying to take extra time here. You know, I get where people are coming from. You know, and here's why I think I can sympathize and I can connect with and empathize with people that want to run meta. They're mad about the Helldivers 2 nerfs. You know, they're like, oh, you broke the meta. I can't beat this content his ass. The reason I can connect with that line of thinking is because I have very limited time. I take a very different approach. I have very limited time, so I boot up, get my wife and I in a lobby, I ping the Discord, people join, and we just run level 4. I'm just trying to have fun. I don't care how long it takes. I'm not trying to blitz this thing, right? I don't think I'm going to have the war bond, I'm not going to have the premium war bond finished before the next one comes out. I'm not. You know, I put over 43 hours in this game. You know, it takes a while. Now, I probably wasn't doing a good job booting up and making sure I was regularly getting those medals. That probably hurt me a couple of days where I took like a couple days off. Because I just either was traveling or was too busy. That probably slowed my progress down. People also aren't considering the range of stratagems you have available. Make a weapon stratagem loadout that covers everything. I do think the autocannon needs a slight buff to deal with heavy armor. It's nuts the amount of heavies they throw on the higher difficulties. If you don't have much time to play, then why even play online games? Because most of them need a lot of dedicated time. This just isn't for you. I don't agree with that at all. I can choose to play a game how I want. This is not a game. This is not an MMO. This is not an MMO. I can choose to play this game however I want. If I would like to play for 2 hours, you know, then I'm going to do that. Like, what do you mean? Like, I shouldn't play if I don't have lots of time. No. Like, if you have lots of time, put in lots of time. If I have limited time, I'm going to play in a way that's conducive to that. And that's exactly what I do. I'm playing like low-level content and relaxing on the couch with my wife. You know what I'm saying? I hate that they're doing that. Let me choose which warbond to level. You can choose which warbond to level, Jake. What are you talking about? Are you confused with how it works? You can literally choose which one you want to level. I could right now be spending all of my medals in the premium war bond, and I've not been. I've been spending it on the standard. I could have ignored the standard and spent all my medals on the premium. You can spend them wherever you want. Now, you got to do the pages in order, but that's not any different than your average battle pass. You got to get the things in order. You know, within reason. Each page you can kind of pick the things in the order that you want. If you know, every time I get to a page, I usually prioritize the gun first, and then the armor second, and then everything else after. Yeah, stream delay, Dave. Yeah, some stream delay there. Yeah, you gotta do the pages in order. Then that's fine. The premium sucks. Yeah, the guns on the premium started disappointing me, so I retreated back. Everybody kept saying, well, the best weapons are on the standard one. I was like, oh, well, let me go to the standard one then. Once you reach level 20, you unlock everything. Have fun, buy whatever you want. What? I don't know what you mean by that. Yo, 5 more members from Skatinator. He's like, come on, boys. He's like, you're going to make me do this by myself today? He's putting the member count on his back and takes us to 13. Thank you so much, Skatinator. Been so generous lately with the gifteds. Let's just say I'll never buy the premium pass again because I also don't have a ton of time to play. Also, I will in no way finish this war bond. Well, they never go away, Jake. They never go away. So you're always able to come back and do it if you have more time. Rich Rod. So there's no FOMO in the game at all. $5 super chat from Rich Rod. I'm a full-time dad with a full-time job. I may only get an hour a day for sweet liberty and defending democracy. It's not easy. Right. And I think that's what we always miss when we're like, well, people are being toxic and people are being jerks. No, people have real lives. And they're like, bro, I got 2 hours to play. You know? I got 2 hours to play. I'm trying to do this fast. You know? There's one from Patrick. Whoa, I did not know that. Yeah, they confirmed in an interview that the war bonds will always be there. So if all of a sudden you can play more, or, you know, you're logging in periodically and you forget to spend your medals, you're like, oh, I got a ton of medals. Yeah, you can always go. There's no FOMO in this game at all. They quite literally... They're doing all the things that you want in a live service game. Like, no FOMO, very limited store. You can literally earn the premium battle pass. Like, what game lets you do that, by the way? There's no game that lets you do that. You always have to buy the premium pass. You don't have to buy this premium pass. If they get the dailies under control, the war bonds will be easy. Yeah, that is true, Eugene. We have had a bit of a lower... injection of medals because the dailies weren't working for like a really long time. You could have been logging in every day, playing 1 or 2 missions, and getting enough to buy 1 to 2 items from the war bond, and you weren't able to do that because the dailies weren't there. The dailies really help. They give you like 15 medals most of the times for a daily? But it's pay to win. Yeah. Had a blast playing last night. Yeah, I played last night with Jay and Trill. Oh, excuse me. Chris was 16 months. Super happy that Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut Edition is finally coming to PC. Waiting does pay off. Yeah, I'm glad PC folks are going to be able to play it. I don't know why all these guys are like clamoring to PC to be like, don't buy this. It's like, you guys are idiots. The game is monetized like a game that isn't expected to get many whales. Well, we'll see, because I do think... I think the game is monetized in a way where, because the game completely oversold their expectations, they probably are in no rush to like add monetization to the game more than it's already there. You can endlessly farm the premium currency. What other game lets you do that? Yeah, like none. You playing tonight? Maybe. My wife and I, it's a date night tonight. So when we get back, if we get the kiddos in bed, you know, I might play a little bit more. And then tomorrow night, we will do a big celebration stream if we can get we need about 300 more members. And then we'll do the big celebration stream. We'll play Helldivers with you guys. I'll put the little emoji in front of her, but you guys can hear her banter and us playing together. I'm telling you, her playing Helldivers with me is hysterical. You guys will like it. It's very, very funny. She talks a lot of crap when she's playing this game. She gets into it. So that's our current goal, is we need about 300 more members, and then we'll celebrate Friday night. And then that'll be a public stream. After the public stream, we'll go hang out with members. Part of me still thinks this is a lot of troll fake accounts going and complaining about Ghost of Tsushima on Steam. That's probably naive. I mean, it's hard to know, you know. There was that petition for Helldivers 2 to come to Xbox. I feel like a PlayStation troll did that, you know. I always think it's fake. There's just a bunch of weirdos in this world, you know. It's easier for me to believe that somebody who really doesn't like Xbox made that petition to make Xbox fans look bad, that's easier for me to believe. It's easier for me to believe that, like, anti-fans are the ones that do this crap. Like, genuine fans of PlayStation are not clamoring to Steam to be like, don't buy Ghost of Tsushima on PC. Like, I don't know, bro. That sounds like a cartoon character. That doesn't sound like a real person to me. Sounds like a lunatic. Like, it's so hyperbolic that I'm like, my brain rejects it. I'm like, this has got to be fake. This can't be real, right? This is somebody goofing around, right? Right? I mean, I told a guy yesterday in the comments about Helldivers 2, you know, coming to Xbox. I was like, I'd be fine with that. It doesn't bother me at all. That doesn't bother me at all. More people can play. Great. It's a live service game. I have no issue with that. Why would that bother me? Ooh, I got shot in that clip. You know, I like the idea of Power World coming to PlayStation, because then I can play with my kiddos. You know what I'm saying? Like, games like that, I like that. I'm in support of that. I don't know, after Phil's comments, I could see someone legit starting it. I mean, maybe. I'll give you a maybe for the Helldivers 2 petition. But for the people going to Steam to be like, don't support this. This is a betrayal. It's got to be fake. It's got to be fake. It does not seem possible that it's real. This guy says, you ruined my life as a PlayStation gamer. You and your port begging has killed the PlayStation. Are you guys happy? You killed millions of players who invested in the best gaming console for you to only go and kill it with your port begging. When will the oppression against PlayStation gamers end? That has to be fake. That's like somebody goofing around. If that's a real person, then I fear for anybody that's in proximity with them. Like, you know, if they're a cashier somewhere or a manager somewhere, I fear for anybody that's around them every day, you know? That sounds like somebody who's a thread away from snapping, you know? You know, they're right there. They're right on the edge. If that's a real person. They're right on the edge, chat. It's real close. Oh. There was a funny video. There's all these videos now of like when people put a password on their Wi-Fi and their neighbor comes and complains. This lady got really mad. She's like, stop calling my PlayStation an Xbox. And she goes to leave and she turns around. She's like, you have 5 seconds to run. He like quickly tries to close his door. Oh, man. I disagree with you on this one. Talking about the same guys that said Call of Duty is going to be exclusive on Game Pass. I mean, yeah, sure, Jay, but yeah, I don't know. All right. I'm curious what you guys think about something. All right. With these nerfs, okay, let's kind of bring things back. We started talking about meta and gatekeeping, which is certainly related to the nerfs. But I want to know your opinion about something. With this change to the railgun and the personal shield or whatever, and people are posting their pictures. Let me kind of show you. We can kind of do like a live fire reaction here to the salt. There's a lot of salt on Reddit. Okay. Do you feel it's overstated? Or is there more balancing necessary? Like, is there a definite sort of over-tuning that happened here? PC Gamer, Helldivers 2 players aren't happy about the game's first balance patch. And here's why. All right, so let's scroll down here. Well-placed ad here. That's wonderful. That's what. Can I close that? Oh, never mind. Oh, shoot. Let's just refresh. That's ugly. Like, I'd rather have an ad than that. Okay, let's scroll down here. There you go. There's your Bile Titan. Helldivers 2 its first battle pass yesterday. Blah, 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 blah. Railgun. Okay, we all know all this. Somebody said that they were on Reddit calling the meta players mindless. Is that true? So this person here says, what are we supposed to do with 5 Bile Titans and 7 Chargers spawning all at once on a tiny eradicate mission? How is this balanced in any way? So you can see here, this guy staring down the barrel of just pain. This is bad. This isn't going to go well, okay? So this individual's thinking, like, what are we supposed to do here? Okay. Now the changes to the railgun are not extreme enough to make me think like, oh, suddenly this content doesn't work. You just have to run it in unsafe mode, right? You are supposed to fail. I don't agree with that. I don't think this game is designed for you to fail. That's not compelling content. Yeah, come and play and fail. This guy says, can a dev tell me what stratagem I should have brought for this situation? So, yeah, that's pretty bad. This is pretty bad here. It looks like we got the evacuation happening. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 5 Titans here. Hang on, we'll look at that one too, Trill. Give me 1 second. All right. Here's another one. I love this game, but this Skull Admiral is tired, boss. You need to rely on your stratagems. This guy says you need to rely on your stratagems. Further increase those cooldowns and call-in times, or outright decrease the number of stratagems we can bring with us via most high difficult mission modifiers. And there are more chargers in this one mission than there are citizens on Super Earth. For the love of democracy, I want to use my non-railgun stratagems, but heavy armor is impenetrable by most of the tools at our disposal, and I spend all my time in difficulties 8 and 9, kiting elites and running for my freedom, loving life. All right, let me pull up this other thread that Trill just sent me. So, come on. What's your comeback? These guys are saying you can't beat a lot of this stuff, right? Now, here's a Reddit thread here that says, the first balance patch notes proved how YouTube absolute and only meta loadouts cooked a lot of people's heads, and I love it. A lot of mad people keep showing up in my feed complaining about the nerfs, but they're really mad at Arrowhead. Their statements are so exaggerated that they claim the game is completely ruined for them, Lamau. And almost every single one of them says the same thing. You guys nerfed the only good options, and now we have nothing to fight. And this only proves people never actually played with any of the other support weapons. They 100% relied on the ultimate support weapon tier list YouTube videos. They searched the meta, and they went into this thinking of any weapon outside of this is straight up garbage. A lot of the primaries are trash. Just please don't even try to argue against that, all right? If you can't win a single game without the railgun, shield, backpack, and the breaker, I'm so sorry, but that's not the game's fault or the game only having those as the only way to play. Great changes for the game, and all you trying to shame on devs because of this, you're not a real Helldiver. They killed nothing. The railgun still kills, but now it needs some actual skill and strategy to use it, not spamming the thing on big bugs. Well, I guess my question would be, all right, this part right here. This proves they never actually played with any of the other support weapons. Okay, well, let's go back over here. Okay. What support weapons are the solution to this? I'm not saying that you have to run railgun, shield gen, and breaker, but this individual offers no suggestions. What is this mysterious build that's so strong and so great that YouTube videos cooked everybody into thinking wrongly? What's your solution to this then? This is how crazy the higher difficulties can get. What do you got for this? Because if you're still running the railgun, because it's just as strong in the unsafe mode, you just got to be smart. You can't blow yourself up. EMS and Rain Hellfire. You keep saying EMS, Eugene. And I had somebody use it yesterday, right? What's the EMS look like when you use it? Maybe they weren't. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, okay? I could be wrong here. What's the EMS look like when you use it? EMS gas strike and an orbital laser? Because I swear I saw somebody use one last night, and I was like, this doesn't seem to really stop anybody. It doesn't seem to be this expert crowd control thing, because you kept saying that yesterday. And I thought, yeah, man, people might be just completely ignoring, really great options, Maybe this is on the players. EMS is a stasis field. Okay. Let me see if I can get footage of it. The big blue cloud. A huge electrical storm. See, I swear to you, I watched somebody use the EMS yesterday, and it frickin' didn't do anything. The charger didn't like stop and stand still. He turned around. He looked confused for like a few seconds, and then he kept going. It didn't mess with him at all. It slows them. You have to set it up during a bottleneck. Okay. EMS is a blue cloud. There's an EMS cannon as well. It's the blue static. Yeah, that's what the guy used. EMS does not slow Bile Titans. That's what I'm saying. I saw somebody use it just last night. Somebody in our group threw one on a charger, and it didn't affect him at all. He turned around. He looked confused for maybe 2 seconds. Not enough time to call a stratagem on him. And then he went right back to charging around. It didn't do anything to him. Now, it could have been lag. I don't know. It could have been a bug or a glitch. It didn't seem to affect him in any way. And I'm here to tell you, that's not the first time I've seen that happen. So I'm wondering, does it not work consistently enough? Did people try it a handful of times? Did he miss? No, he didn't. He was in the center of it. I watched it happen. That's not the first time I've seen the EMS engulf enemies, and then the enemies act like nothing happened. I'm wondering if it's not consistent or something, and because of that, people like me tried it a few times, and they're like, this thing sucks. What the frick? I thought maybe, you're supposed to use it on the robots. Because I used it on a couple of the bugs. I remember in like the first couple of days, and they weren't affected by it at all. I mean, it would hit, boom, it'd be right around them, and they would act like nothing happened. They would just walk right through it. EMS slows all bugs except for Bile Titans. It slows them down. Then they get stunned. It isn't instant, and it doesn't seem entirely consistent. If I remember correctly, I thought it landed right behind him. He was surrounded by the field on the visual effect trill, and it didn't seem to do anything. I was like, somebody's using a slot for that? I was like, that's dumb. Like, it didn't, I don't know. Maybe it needs to be more clear that it's having an effect. Because it wouldn't surprise me at all if one of the reasons people don't use it is they're like, I tried it. It didn't really seem to do anything. EMS works on the bugs. It's literally in the tutorial video. Oh, I know. That's why I did it, and it didn't seem to work. And then I played with people who also used it, and it didn't seem to work. So slowly but surely, I never saw it anymore. Everybody stopped using it. This is new. Yeah, they're using AI to give you a chat summary. People are discussing the difficulty of the new endgame content in the game Helldivers. They're talking about the different strategies and weapons that can be used to deal with the new enemies. That's hilarious. It's actually not bad. The EMS strike is also bad as it lasts a whole 15 seconds or something. The EMS mortar is actually functional. Okay. Exactly. I've used EMS many times on bugs, and it really doesn't work. When it doesn't work, you have to keep using it. The gas works on the bots, too. Okay. Well, I've not played the high level content because I like typically in a game like this, I'm trying to chill on the couch with my wife, or I'm trying to chill on a stream with you guys. So, you know, did y'all not read? Eugene, you don't need to bring that kind of a tone. I'm here telling you that I've been in games and I myself have used the thing you're describing and it seemingly did nothing. So I stopped using it. Like, when I tried the breaker, I didn't need to, like, go to a shooting gallery to, like, crunch damage numbers to be like, I don't know, is this better? It was super easy. It was like, this is way better. And I had an EMS that seemingly did nothing. And I had bombs from the sky, and I had beams that seemed to, you know, I don't know, actually do something. So I stopped using EMS. Like, you're acting like we're all dum-dums that didn't look at the items or try them out. I have been in games with people that used it, and it didn't seem to do anything. Yeah, we're going to do a second stream, and we're going to play some gameplay. Yeah. Now, I'll be honest. I didn't try the EMS mortar. I just tried that EMS field, and I was like, oh, I guess you're supposed to use this on the bots. That didn't do anything. So I just never went back and used it again. Because, I used it, I think, when we played against some of the automatons, and it seemed like pretty good. And we were getting swarmed, and it helped. But I've played mostly against the bugs. I haven't done as much with the automatons. Lono also fights the bugs more than the bots. While it still works on the bugs, I say it's even more effective against the bots. Yeah, I used it against the bots a couple of times, and it was very obviously more effective. But what that did to me is it told me this is worthless against the bugs. Why would I waste a slot on this? And then just last night when Trill did it, I thought, oh yeah, Eugene kept talking about this, and the Charger turned around, and he was like, kind of confused, and then he went right back to his attack patterns, and I was like, that was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. That didn't do anything. And what's the laser cannon for? Does anybody know? What are you supposed to use that thing on? They increased its armor penetration. Like, what's the laser cannon for? It's terrible. What are you supposed to use? What's you supposed to use? What are you supposed to use that on? Small to medium bugs? So I'm supposed to call down a support weapon, big, huge, cumbersome charge-up weapon, and I'm supposed to use it on small to medium bugs? Yeah, to look cool. That's right, Jake. Is it for the... Oh, does it work better on the robots? Yeah, they buffed it, Psychopath. So I tried it out. I was like, I tried out the Punisher. I tried out the laser cannon. And I was like, yeah, these still suck. These are still terrible. The laser cannon especially. The Punisher actually is really good at stunning. Like, it staggers the frick out of them. I mean, it's like, you nick them with like a single pellet. And the whole bug just like stops dead in its tracks. If that Punisher just shot like a hair faster, I would prefer it over the breaker. It just feels good. You know, it's got this good feel to it, and when it hits them and they stagger, it just shoots a teeny bit too slow. It doesn't feel like it links up with the rhythm of the game. You feel like I feel like I'm out of step. I feel like I'm a half step behind. The energy is because people claim something doesn't work on an enemy type when the tutorials literally say they do. Eugene, the tutorials can say all they want. It could be a bug. It could be a glitch. It could be not working as intended. We've got to use, you know what I'm saying? Yo, Steve K gifts a member. Thank you so much for doing that. Putting us at 15 out of 25. Tempting somebody to 10 bomb us all the way home to 25. Thank you so much, Steve. I mean, we have to provide this feedback, do we not, Eugene? They're like, nobody's using the EMS. I don't understand. And we're like, because it doesn't work. And then they'll go and look, and they'll be like, you know what, you're right. It doesn't consistently work. Or it's supposed to last longer. Or, you know, it's supposed to work better than that. I don't know. If that's how well it's supposed to work against the bugs, dude, I ain't freaking using that. It taking up a slot. It barely does anything. Don't say skill issue. But the thing lands on the enemies. You can see it. Do you honestly think, with the way this game is designed, that we all just misunderstood? Like it blew up over here, and then the bugs are over here. We're like, it didn't work. No, it landed like right on. It landed right on the bugs. And they didn't slow down almost at all. You have to throw it where they will be, not where they are. What the frick does that even mean? If the field is around them. Like last night when Trill did it, okay? I didn't record it. When Trill did it, the charger is surrounded by the field. He's in the field. And it didn't seem to do anything to him. It didn't give us any advantage. We'll try it again on stream, so I'll have a clear audience. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm saying it doesn't seem to work that well, and there were times where it didn't seem to work at all. So either it's inconsistent or it's intended to be a very, very small impact on the bugs, and it's more effective against the robots. But the effect it had on the bug last night on the charger, I was like, that's not even worth using. Just use the orbital beam, for crying out loud. Trill literally said it landed behind the charger. Yeah. And he turned around and he walked back into the field, which according to you, that's what we're supposed to do. Put it where they're going to go. So it lands behind him. He turns around. He kind of steps into it. And again, he paused for maybe 2 seconds. Like, it didn't even give me enough time. I had the laser cannon. So I charged it up and I was like, neat. And then boom, he just kind of went back to his thing. And I was like, what was the point of that? All Helldivers are called to liberate Tien Quan immediately. We cannot allow this technology to fall into the despotic actuators. So they've just put out a call. We have to liberate Tien Quan immediately. Do you think that when this order is done that we'll be able to get... Let me show you guys. They just pushed this out. We'll do this in about 30 minutes. We'll boot up the game and play. This is the perfect day to be covering and playing Helldivers. Okay. Here's our major order. Tien Quan, home of the Seoul facility stockpiling new exosuit technology, has come under attack by the automatons. Oh boy. All Helldivers are called to liberate Tien Quan immediately. We cannot allow this technology to fall into the despotic actuators. Classified briefing. There it is. I wonder if when we complete that order, we'll get the max. But again, my do you not read was aimed at people who said gas doesn't work on bots and claimed EMS doesn't work on bugs when I've used them against both. Yo, Zach Johnson's helping out. He gifts 5 members and takes us to 20. Thank you so much. There he was, Jin. Really, really excited about Ghost of Tsushima on PC. Here's what I wonder is if this is what's happening, Eugene. If the impact of the EMS on the bugs is so much more minimal that, like, it just looks like nothing happened. Like, because last night it was like, I could tell it affected the charger a little bit. But it didn't seem like it suddenly gave us this massive opportunity to, like, do something with that time. It wasn't like, okay, yeah, he's clearly stunned. He doesn't know what's going on. You know, we can drop something on him now or something. Because it'd be really fun if it was, like, super effective to get him to do that and then to try to, like, throw, like, a resupply under him or something and then kill him with the resupply. You know, something creative. Yo, MASH gifts 5 and takes us to 25. We need 300 before Friday night if you guys want to do the big celebration stream. I'll gift the 5 that I own now. I do that because it helps with the momentum and keeps us on top of the count instead of losing throughout the day, because that's typically what's going to happen. So I started gifting as soon as you guys hit the goals, I gift. There's the 5 that I owe. Thank you so much, MASH. Are you going to get a Royal PC for Ghost of Tsushima? It might be time to go to that local PC place and have them build me a beast, because that Horizon Forbidden West, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to play that game with any decent settings And there it is, Agents of Chaos. My man Jay coming in, taking us to 26. Thank you so much, Jay. If you miss the drop, then you miss the stun, which means the slow won't be as effective. Okay, so Eugene, walk me through what you do with the EMS that you think is so effective that we're not doing, right? Like, walk me through it. Because I don't play at the high levels, so I don't really need it. But the few times I've seen it on bugs, I'm like, that's a waste. Like, that doesn't seem to do anything. Like, you're wasting a whole slot on that. You're better off just doing one of the fast regen strafing runs or something. Yeah. Yeah, the new War Bond is on the 14th. They said nothing about the mechs. I wonder if we'll get the mechs before that, right? Barrier says, just make sure you aren't confusing the EMS drop with the EMS mortar. The EMS mortar absolutely works. Yeah, that's not what Trill used last night. He used the single drop. I time it so they walk into it when it drops. Okay, so you drop it, and then as it hits, the bugs walk into it. And you're telling me it slows them down enough that it gives you an opportunity to then hit them with something else. Then they're hit by the stun, and they're stuck in the slow. Okay. And you think that then that helps you drop like a barrage on them or something? Why can't you just do the barrage? Like, if you're trying to time the EMS with them walking, why wouldn't you just do a barrage instead? Like, what's the benefit? Does it cluster them more together or something? Does it group them up better? Evidence with 15 months says, on a higher difficulty, I don't focus on killing all or most of the enemies. The best strategy is to flee rather than fight. Seems like the way it's going. The cloud does all the work. The impact doesn't matter. It sounds like there's two things that's happening. He says they get hit by the stun and they get stuck in the slow. So maybe that's what we've been missing. Maybe the impact, they've got to be near it so that they get stunned and then they're kind of stuck in the slow. It doesn't kill your teammates. Yeah, it won't hurt your teammates. If I'm not mistaken, EMS can actually stun enemies, not just slow. Yeah, it sounds like if you get it to hit around the time, like if they're right there, that impact stuns them and then the cloud slows them down. And I just don't feel like it did anything to the Charger last night. And again, maybe it's a bug, maybe it's a glitch. I don't know. He didn't seem affected by it at all. And I remember I used it once or twice and felt like the same thing. I was like, well, that didn't really do anything. And I just thought, oh, this is for the bots. They have stratagems that are more geared towards the robots. You know, it's an EMS. It makes me think of an EMP. It's like, oh, this is for the robots. It gives you time. It guarantees your other things hit. Okay. The impact landed behind him. So yeah, so your impact didn't stun him, but he ended up in the field, and he just seemed to kind of walk right through it. It didn't really seem to do anything. Mortar's even stronger, but on a longer cooldown. The EMS is viable in certain situations. For killing, though, use orbital laser, rail cannon strike, arc thrower, and the autocannon sentry. Even less experienced players can use these weapons. Yeah, I have no issue with the difficulties and the levels that I've been playing. I just feel like there were certain items that just didn't seem, like, especially primary weapons, that just don't seem worth using, And I felt like some of the stratagems felt very similar. It's like, well, why would I ever use this? Now, again, I've not played a lot of the automatons, so I might have been wanting that EMS more if I'd been playing there more, perhaps. There's a call to liberate the planet with the mech manufacturing earlier, hopefully after we liberate the planet. Yeah, major orders usually take, what is it? How many days do we typically have on a major order? Isn't it like 2 or more? Because I watched the countdown this morning on the major order that we had, and nothing happens when it counts down. I thought something was going to happen. It just like disappeared. I thought something would like happen in the game. I rebooted the game and still nothing happened. Like, you have to wait, I guess, for them to push out new. The last one was 5? Oh, I was out of town. That's why. Because I was like, I came back and I assumed it was a brand new one and that we had like, 2 or 3 days to work on it. But I was out of town. That's what it was. Because I didn't play over the weekend. I was gone. This just isn't the way, says Sneaky Wolf. It's going to end up like Mortal Kombat 11 at this point. Power is wild and fun. AF in Street Fighter 6 and Tekken, it's a shame. I don't feel like they're nerfing the power fantasy out of the game. I feel like that's just been very, very much exaggerated. I used the railgun last night on unsafe mode. Felt basically the same. You run an unsafe mode. It didn't seem to have an issue. If you look at the video for the orbital EMS, you'll see what we mean. Yeah, we can go in the game and check it. I'll schedule. We'll do some gameplay here in about 15 minutes. Yeah. I think YouTube's been having issues again today. We've had like really, really big viewer drops and then slowly and then big drops and slowly. So if you guys have been having to refresh or the website's been acting goofy, I'm sorry about that. I tried using YouTube both last night and this morning, not as a streamer, just as a user, and it was really, really wonky. So I think they've been doing some resets and some stuff in the background, and it's just been causing some issues. So the last one was 2 planets instead of 1. In chat, pick your loadout. I mean, I'm happy to, because it's going to be the Nerf patch gameplay, I'm going to show people the Punisher and the laser cannon, and I'm going to show people like just how terrible the laser cannon is and how you might like the Punisher. You might like it. I didn't like it. I didn't feel like it kept up with the flow of combat. But the stagger they boosted stagger, and the stagger was really nice. People just can't be bothered to change it from safe mode to unsafe mode. Lazy gamers. I'm max level, own everything, and played over 150 hours already. It's not that bad. Skill issues. Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be, I think, people that just sort of refuse to, they refuse to change. They refuse to adapt. They don't want to do anything new. I get that. I do. I think, in general, that's going to be a common occurrence. I think the laser will be fine if the illuminates come back. Lasers always were good versus them. Adapt or die for democracy. That's right. Did they buff the scythe? Because that gun is absolute trash. They didn't touch the scythe. I remember I found a scythe in the wild. And I kind of shot it. And I was like, this is the gun that the guard dog uses. And I remember I put it on somebody. I forget who. I don't know what kind of enemy it was. And it took forever to kill them. I was like, what is this? It's terrible. The scythe's really bad. So again, maybe some of those weapons are in there and they're going to shine in in another planet or another timeline or something. I don't know. As much as people don't like nerfs, we also don't want a recluse situation in Helldivers 2 either. Right, like I said in my show open, don't shoot the messenger, but I tried to warn people. I said, they're going to have to address this. Like, you can't just leave stuff like this unchecked. You can't, because then that's all anybody's going to do. And then what are you going to do in 3 months? Be like, well, I don't know why everybody's bored and not playing, or I don't know why everybody's, not wanting to come back. It's like you have to shake things up. You can't just leave obvious outliers alone. It's necessary. But they also have... I found their comments on primary weapons to be a little off the mark. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I should not have to... Like, just listen to this one part. I don't... Maybe I'm misunderstanding. It's possible. But... Where is it? So when people were talking about not being able to use their primary weapons for like all enemies, like by way of raw DPS, this was their response. They said, this is very much intentional. You need to rely on your stratagems and the stratagems of your team to deal with all enemies effectively. Either by Eagle airstrikes, orbital support weapons, or turrets, some of your loadout team should be tailoring their loadout to killing the weaker stuff more efficiently. No. That doesn't make any sense. Primary weapons should be effective at killing the weaker enemies. Like, if I try to view what they said in the absolute best light, what you're telling me is then I guess there are going to be primary weapons that are good against medium to big enemies. So then I'm equipping myself with a gun that's not good at killing the weaker enemies. Like, I'm supposed to have a teammate who's tailored their loadouts to kill the weak stuff? That doesn't make any sense. The little guys that crawl on the ground, the little green guys that squirt stuff, I'm supposed to be like, hey, buddy, can you come over here? Like, I'm not equipped for this. They're 100% correct. Why? Why are they correct? Like, weak enemies, I should rely on my team to take care of them? You're constantly getting in fights with weaker enemies. They're popping out of everywhere, and my primary and secondary should be able to handle that. Someone on your team should be the guy that handles trash ads? That doesn't make any sense because there's too many of them for one guy to be the guy taking care of them. They're coming out of all sorts of the places. So you go up on like a bug nest and you're supposed to have a guy who handles the trash ads? It's not even, the game's not even built for that. So what, we all just stand around while Dave kills the trash ads? I like the flamethrower, but again, when there is a hierarchy of weaponry and a hierarchy of enemies, they just tend to line up. I've got an Uzi as my secondary that can just handle trash ads. What, am I just not supposed to do that? Well, I'm supposed to use the something else and just, oh, we should have a teammate for the trash ads. Like, what? No, the breaker shotgun and the Uzi, I'm totally fine to take care of trash ads. Designated roles are intended. They've made that pretty clear, but it's nonsensical. So if I'm not going to use the breaker shotgun and the Uzi, because I can totally handle trash ads with the breaker shotgun and the Uzi, what am I using instead? What? Is there some gun? Is there some primary that's really, really good at the medium-sized guys or the tanks, like the bigger guys? I don't think there's primary or secondary weapons that are built for that. So what's the point? We would all just run breaker Uzi, and then you're able to handle the trash ads. I don't need somebody to handle trash ads when there are primaries and secondaries that totally do the job. Like, well, we better make sure we have a trash ad guy. What are you talking about? We have guns that do that. So if I'm not going to be using the breaker and the Uzi, I would be using something else that is helping with what exactly? What primary is there in the game right now that you're putting on instead of the breaker? So now you're not as effective against trash ads. Okay, fine. What's that sacrifice gaining me? What? What am I using instead? The Slugger or the Punisher? Why? Why am I switching to that? I used the Punisher last night. Stagger was nice. It didn't seem to help with really anything other than that. There's that single fire rifle. It's semi-automatic. What's that gun's purpose? What am I supposed to do with that gun? So I'm not going to use the breaker. I'm taking you at your word. Okay. We should have a guy for trash ads. I'm going to use a different primary. What's the benefit of those other primaries? They're good for medium and armored enemies. Medium armor penetration rifles. Okay. So, which gun does that? Because I felt like when I ran that one rifle, it didn't seem like it did any better a job than the breaker. Like, maybe that's the part of the problem. Like, I should be able to put on that rifle and be like, bam, 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 and their armor's just flying off. I'm not handling the trash ads, but I'm helping with the armor. See, now I'm with that, but I didn't feel like it was doing that. It didn't feel any faster. It felt slower. It felt slower than the breaker. The Liberator Penetrator. I'd have to try it again. I felt like the breaker was just faster and stronger than everything. Even with their changes to it, it's like, yeah, just put on the breaker. It's just one size fits all. Trash ads, medium ads, armored ads, doesn't matter. The Punisher hits harder than the breaker. The Punisher has great stagger. It's awesome with the stagger. It just shoots a teeny bit too slow. I don't like how slow it shoots, but I loved the stagger. I thought the stagger was awesome. The issue is no primary can handle the heavy armor. I was using ad clearing as an example, maybe a poor one, but yes, you're understanding what I'm saying now. Right, if I'm going to have a guy on my team who's got Eagle airstrikes and turrets and support weapons, and he's set up to take care of the trash ads, right? And I'm not. What am I bringing to the table? Okay, the Penetrator. That thing should be just blasting. It should just be blasting armor off then. YouTube ads? Is that why we've been having weird drops in the viewership? I don't have ads automatically running. We had people say that the other day. They said they were getting ads. And I was like, I'm not running ads. Because I know that just absolutely kills your viewership. Is that why we've been having big drops? Are you guys getting random ads? That happened the other day. Like, somebody came in, they're like, why am I getting ads? I was like, I'm not running them. I'm telling you, YouTube's going to take our ability away to not do that. They're just going to start doing it anyway. Like, serving up live streams is so expensive. They're going to want to start having more ad saturation. I get ads all the time. I love the Penetrator. The stun is great. Okay, well, after the Punisher, we'll try the Penetrator again. It one-shots a lot of things. Oh, you were adding trash ads, medium ads, big ads, YouTube ads. Okay, I thought you got a YouTube ad. I thought, man, YouTube, you are not helping us. I can tell when I look at the metrics, something unnatural is happening when there's just these cliffs. It's like, we're good, cliff. We're good, cliff. It's like something's happening on the platform, and I'm not sure what it is today. Yesterday, we had a couple of weird blips, and we did an ingest server swap, so I'm not sure if they're doing something again on the front end. I don't know what it is. Here's an example. My Jar 5 lets me demolish warrior Tyranids. Same with the Devastators for the automatons, but then I suffer from trash clear. Right. The Uzi's not bad at trash, so I could get behind running the Uzi for the little guys, and then running something like a Penetrator to take armor off. Like, I like a game where that happens, but the problem is, listen, we all fall prey to this. We all turn into a dum-dum. Like, I use the Devastator, I'm like, oh, it's strong, it's good, like, I just turn into a dummy. I'm like, why would I use anything else? This thing's shredding. Like, what? Oh, but if you use this on these enemies, I don't need to do that. The freaking breaker is shredding everybody in front of me. I don't need to do anything else. Like, this thing is great. Try the Jar 5 Dominator. Its skill ceiling is high, but it does dumb damage. I don't know if I have that. Is that a primary or is that a stratagem? I like the revolver, Eugene, but that Uzi is just so good. When you in a pinch, the Uzi's great. You just spray, and like everything in front of you just kind of falls to pieces. The Uzi is so great as like a panic. Like, uh-oh, I'm on a bad reload cycle, and there's like 4 guys in front of me. The Breaker Incendiary is good on bugs, not bots. Somebody dropped a Breaker Incendiary last night, and so I picked it up and tried it, because I remember you saying that. It did feel pretty good against the bugs. It felt nice. I was like, oh, okay, I like this. You know, it's also nice just to hit a big guy from far away and like put some fire on him. You know, I don't know how much it's helping. It just feels nice. It's like, yeah, like put a little fire on him. The Revolver F's armor. Do you have the Slugger? I don't know. It's the premium. Oh, primary premium war one, last page. It's so satisfying. It shoots rocket propelled bullets. Yeah, I don't have that. The Uzi's the best get off me other than the shotguns. Yeah, the Uzi's just great when you suddenly are panicking and you got like a ton of people around you or enemies around you and you just need to get away. 3rd page of the second war bond. Okay. Okay. Let me schedule the gameplay and then I'll go get my controller. I had to charge it this morning because we played some last night, and then we started watching Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone. I wanted to like it, but I was just like, what this? The reviews didn't look like it were very good, and I'm seeing why. Kind of bummed. We watched all of the classic Twilight Zones, and then I was like really looking forward to the new ones because they have so many celebrity cameos. We're gonna give it another shot. Okay. All right. Nerf patch gameplay. And once I'm in the game, boys, y'all can join me. It was acting really weird last night. Like, Madam could not join my game. I had to send her a PSN invite. Like, the invites in the game were not working. It was super weird. Okay, dismiss. Remember, the Slugger does double damage than the stats say, and it breaks medium armor. The stats lie. Okay. That sounds nice. All right, let's set up redirect here. We started out really strong today, and then YouTube just, I don't know what they're doing. They're killing us. They're killing us this week, man. They made some changes and some resets, bro, and it's hurting. Unfortunately, you're way behind now. Yeah, if you fall behind, dude, you're gonna load up with people, and they're gonna have a whole arsenal, and you're not. You're gonna be like, I don't have any of this cool stuff. It's tough. People are putting in lots and lots of time. Had to send me one. Yeah, it was really weird. Like, even Jay couldn't join me. I had to send him like a PSN invite. So I have to grab my controller. Give me 1 second. You had trouble joining too? Yeah, it was really weird. It was super weird. The new Warbond weapons look pretty dope. They do. I think they look pretty dope. I haven't bought the game, so you're further ahead than me, Victor. Yeah, there you go. I feel like the footage of the new, I mean, obviously, you know, it's hard to say, you know, based just purely on footage. What is happening? Okay. I should have a ton of medals now, right? Why have I not gotten my medals from... We successfully did that one thing. Did I have to play again after we lost it? I thought all you had to do was log in and check it. Have they not distributed the medals yet for it? I don't have any medals from the we successfully did the major order, and I haven't gotten the medals from it. Oh, no one has? Okay. Because the other day, like, I loaded up the game and I was like, oh, hey, all right, you know? Okay. You didn't get them? Okay. Yeah, I was hoping to unlock a bunch of stuff. You got 45 medals today. That might have been from the previous one, though, Hilly. The Discord manager stated that the medals will be received. Okay, they are coming. Okay. Late. Yeah, I don't know why that senator you think would be doing better armor, better armor damage, Eugene. It doesn't say anything about armor penetration, but it could be a hidden stat. Like, that's always a possibility that they've got hidden stats, you know? What's this one here? Oh, the Diligence Counter Sniper. Okay, let's send our tweet and our pings. See if we can't fix whatever's going on here with a fresh stream. We've been streaming on YouTube for a really long time, and I can always tell when something funky's going on. And this week has been a weird one. That is for sure. Okay. Y'all got any of them super samples? Yeah, anybody on my friends list already, if you want to join up, light armor penetration. Yeah, all of the sidearms say that though. All of the secondaries say that. That's why I was like, I would expect it to say more if it was going to do more. Like I said, it could be hidden. It could have some damage stat that gives it better armor busting capabilities. Okay. We got that thumbnail switched around. Is there a favorite weapon of yours that you feel is underrated by the community in general? Did I accept your friend request from yesterday? Oh, hang on, Brett. Let me go in here and view all these requests. You were the 1BW. All right. Evidence is in here. I got Rinsler and Scotty B. Are you guys here? I just want to make sure it's someone from chat that I recognize, not some troll who's trying to sneak in. I've definitely gotten some friend requests that I'm sure are not good actors. I mean, I will say that I think the Redeemer is like the best pistol to use. Like, this just feels like a no-brainer. As far as the weapons here, I really liked the Defender. I've not gone back to try to use it. I was 100% always on the Defender. Whenever we were playing until I got the Breaker. I really like the Defender. The Diligence, I don't know. This just doesn't feel like it's worth it. It doesn't feel like it gives me anything, you know. Rinsler's in the Discord? Okay. So, y'all are telling me the Penetrator, because it does medium armor penetrating. You know, we can try that again today. We'll try the Punisher since they increase the stagger rounds. I can kind of show you guys how it feels. The Scythe is terrible. So, okay. All right, let me get this tweet ready. Helldivers 2. Let me post that. Which accounts? All right. All right, new stream. New stream link in the Discord. What's the name of this place that we have to liberate now? What's it called? Tien Quan. Yeah, there are a bunch of stats we can't see, so... Another guy hated the Punisher, and now it's his fave. Yeah, like someone like this. Like, I have no idea who the frick this is. You guys said Rinsler's from the Discord. Okay. Alright. Okay, so assume Parasite's in. Okay, cool. We got a full group. Okay. Alright, let's change the audio. Okay, there we go. Alright. Guys, help me out. YouTube acted really weird today. They shot us out of a cannon, and then I don't know if glitches or weird things happened. Eugene said he had like a blip during the monologue. I don't know what caused the weird behavior. So let's try to like really blast off this this gameplay stream. I'm going to put a link in chat, and then I'm also going to redirect you. When we get over to the new stream, do me a favor, smash the like button, and help this thing kind of start strong. Thanks so much for checking out this video. We are going to be doing a Helldivers 2 Nerf patch gameplay stream. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to test out some of the weapons that they made changes to. We are also going to be helping liberate Tien Quan. If you missed the alert, the new orders, this is to liberate Tien Quan, which is where the exosuit technology is being built. So obviously this is going to lead to us getting the mech suits. They said on Twitter that production had to be halted. They have also announced the new war bond will be arriving on March 14th. We'll be sure to cover and stream that. I did a live stream where we broke down the nerfs and kind of explained why they did some of it. I'm going to end that stream and bring everybody over with a redirect. Thank you guys